you very much indeed. And for those that are coming for sort of double Alice Anson, then you're in the right place. If that's on your schedule, then you're here. Thank you once again for joining us. No time for an outfit change or anything quite as bougie.
No, not quite.
And we're going to change. We're going to slip gears from AI. We're going to start talking about retail media. A bit of context. So the 30 seconds from the IAB, with a trade body for digital advertising in the UK. We produced about 4 months ago a big report called Futurescape. It's all around technology, consumer behaviour, media in 2030 and the things that we need to do to get there. There's lots in there. We talk about TV becoming supercharged. We talk about creators. There's loads of stuff. One of the biggest things that we talk about is the fact that all media is going to be retail media by 2030. Very much on that journey. Some big predictions in there and forecasts about what's going to happen. One of the biggest things we talk in there, Alice, is about this idea, this sort of traditional consumer funnel that's probably served us for decades. Our proposition, that's going to be, we're not going to be talking about that in 5 years' time because of retail media. But what's your sort of thinking around that and how are you thinking about it at Nectar?
I think we've kind of started to move away from that for a little while, right? But, you know, I don't know any of you saw earlier kind of the Tesco journey that they had up on the slide. Like, as consumers, our process to buying a product is not as linear, right? Oh, I saw a TV ad. Now I will go and research it on a product page. Now I'll go into store. None of us work like that, right? So the sooner that we can start thinking about retail media underpinning and being the data that really sits underneath all of the different channels and can contribute to the customer understanding we have so that we're talking about the right message at the right time, the better it is. And I think that's really where we need to start getting to within this ecosystem. Retail media shouldn't be viewed as a channel. It should be viewed as an enabler to us actually having better, more relevant customer messaging.
Retail media often pigeonholed, and maybe we'll come into a few myths here and you can back them back or say that they're still issues. One of the myths, I guess, and where it started is this sort of, let's imagine we still got the funnel, this bottom of the funnel, performance, very DR driven, can make people buy stuff effectively. That's changing, that's changed, that's going to be very, very different come 2030. Are you still bumping into that a little bit?
I think a little bit, and I think there's a couple of different angles here. I think, you know, how the brands and agencies that we work with are set up definitely leans into part of that, right? You know, we still have quite siloed budgets. You know, brand spend is often separate to shopper spend, and that means that you can't have those joined up conversations. I think the other thing as well is that, you know, we're not quite as sexy as some of the other channels, let's be honest. And so we need to kind of lean into that. And I think, you know, one of the things that I talk quite passionately about is we can do all of the awareness driving stuff that you are asking for, but actually we can reduce a lot of the wastage that you're currently spending. And isn't that a great thing for A, the planet, and B, for your budgets, and C, for the consumers? So I think it's about how we start to think more holistically about how we set up ourselves, our brands, our agencies, our relationships to kind of maximize the most success that can come out of retail media.
Creativity came up just now when you talk about it. What about creativity in retail media? Because you've got these incredible standout store app type things that you can do, and then you've got sort of a sponsored listing thing,
sponsored listing, the creative, James.
I'm going back to the sexy point, obviously. Is the creativity thing, is it we're just not sort of unleashing our creative brains on what it could become? Are we sort of a bit focused on the boxes and what they need to look like?
I definitely think we're getting there. You know, one of our iconic campaigns is the Purple Can at Nectar. Obviously an amazing kind of creative campaign that we managed to kind of tie up across all of the different channels. I think, you know, one of the things that we do run into is that unfortunately creative resources are pressured for time. And as I said, with retail media sometimes being an afterthought, we don't get that level of creativity that goes into something like a TV ad. And actually what we should be thinking is, how do we start to adapt all of this creative so that it's talking to the right consumer with the right message? And I do think that's where AI will start to be able to help us, but it's never going to come up with that initial creative idea. So for us, one of the things that we always talk about is when you're thinking about a brand campaign, get the retailers in the room. Like, we can tell you so much about your customer that will help you to create an even better campaign than what you dreamed of.
What about complexity? Because when you talk about retail media, quite rightly not being this siloed channel, if we're saying, well, maybe it doesn't work that way, but it works kind of across this way, that automatically you start to run into complexity. You know, the fact that it just isn't simple to bucket. Talks about, I mean, one, you're the busiest person in retail media, probably, like doing this. You're in Cannes a couple of weeks ago launching pollen. For the uninitiated, tell us a bit about pollen and how that's maybe solving for some of the complexity you're coming up against.
Yeah, so retail media is the most complex business that I think I've ever worked in, but has also kept me here for 7 years and is what I'm massively passionate about. So a couple of years ago, we kind of took a step back and we realized that actually the retail media market is getting more and more complex, and that makes it even more difficult to work with retailers. So how do we go about kind of creating a platform that is efficient, is transparent, and starts breaking down some of those barriers? And that's for us what Nectar 360 Pollen is. It's a single platform where you can book, activate, run, measure campaigns across the entirety of the marketing funnel or channels, whatever you want to do. And it will really help to kind of break down those barriers that we typically see within businesses. And the reception has been amazing. And actually, we've already got a lot of people coming to us saying we can see how this can change the conversations within our business, because now I'm not booking something online, something offsite. I've now got the option to kind of pull everything together in one.
The next question is sort of based on the fact we're sat on a stage. You work for Nectar 360. We're sat on a stage that's in partnership with Tesco. There might have been a time when that might never have happened. The idea of kind of collaboration. There's some pretty punchy forecasts in Futurescape. You know, we think £8.6 billion is going to be spent in 2030. Does it hinge on collaborating in a different way, maybe, than what you've done before?
I think one of the things that I do really love about the retail media industry, and this is not just me saying it, yes, we all work for competing businesses, but at the end of the day, we all really back each other. And we do have that challenging conversation, but fundamentally, a lot of the people that are competitors are also friends. And I think that's really nice because it does allow us to challenge things. When I think about where we could come together better as an industry, it's definitely around measurement. You know, what is that part that standardization has to play? We've been talking about it for bloody years. We just need to make it happen, and we need to come together to be able to do that. And that doesn't mean that everything will be the same and all the retail media networks will be a blueprint of one another. Absolutely, there'll still be that differentiation that leans into our different customer sets, but we just need to start assembling around the IAB standards and really kind of working towards that as an industry.
Because I think that's what we hear, is that reticence to do it is because everyone thinks suddenly that USP that I've lost in some way because I have to do this in exactly the same way. I mean, look at anything else in digital, whether it's publishers, whether it's platforms, they're all distinct. But for the buyers, surely it's going to help if they can compare apples with apples and doing that in the same way.
Absolutely, like the programmatic industry has got standard measurement. It doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. You know, so we should learn from the other industries around us and recognize actually that's what it does to allow us to really grow up as an industry and be more recognized as part of the same table.
It's kind of weird. I remember, and you talked about your time at Nectar 360. I mean, when it started, it must feel very different to what it is now. It does feel like the last 2-3 years has just been this kind of explosion, different longer tail partners coming in. Tell me about how that sort of journey's been from when you first started to where we are now.
It wasn't called retail media 7 years
okay.
ago. It was definitely called shopper marketing. I entered a business that was primarily a POS business. And primarily kind of focused on cardboard and store activations. So over the last 7 years, I've really kind of ridden the wave, and I'm really, really lucky. I know that I got right place, right time. Not all of us get that. But it's really changed. We are having much more of those data-led conversations. And we always had those, right, in the old world of shopper marketing. But we can get results in much faster way, and that allows us to be more agile, and that allows us to adapt. I think as well, you know, the fact that IAB have got a retail media committee, that's only been in existence, I think, for the last 2 to 3 years. The fact that we're being recognised as an industry, the fact that we've got a stage at MadFest, for example, it has been a wild journey, and one, as you said, that's not stopping anytime soon.
I wonder if I could push you a little bit further on the collaboration point. We've seen lots of attempts at collaboration in this year. Project Kangaroo, trying to get the TV channels together. Weave, if you remember Weave, got all of the companies together. Ozone have made a pretty good go of it with publishers. Could we ever see something with retailers coming together, kind of clubbing together inventory? You can totally sit on the fence on this one if you want to.
No, there is the Boston Consulting Group research that's kind of went to a load of brands and said, actually, when you start to think about retail media, what does the future look like? And many of the brands said, we're going to top out at 6 retail media networks. We're not going to have the resource to be able to kind of lean into those networks efficiently. So for me, what that means is that I think the number 1, 2 within each vertical within a country will remain. I think there'll be consolidation through tech of kind of the other players, which means that, you know, we will start to see a change up. Do I ever think that us and Tesco will collaborate. I'm gonna probably sit on the fence on that one, but I'm not too sure.
World exclusive on the Digi Ads stage. Let me ask you about that. Almost that internal tension, because you're unlike other media owners. So there'll be other media partners. They make 100% of their money from advertising. That's what fuels them. Their whole reason for being is to make money from ads. You're not that. You're always going to be a retailer first. You get to make different decisions. Is there ever that internal tension between the sort of the commercial team, and this is a wave, right? You want to ride it. It's the fastest growing thing we see in our ad spend report, and the people saying we're a customer-focused business, and if we put too many ads in front of them, they're going to go and shop somewhere else. How does that sort of play out?
We're an 150-year-old business, so you can imagine the new kid on the block coming in kind of 10 years ago. We were not the coolest kid in the playground, but that has changed. And I think when I think about the relationship that we have with our digital teams, with our commercial teams, even with our product and tech teams, that tension is really healthy, because actually that tension means that we are focusing on the right thing, we are having the right debate, and we are keeping the customer at the heart of decisions. If we just ran off and monetized everything, that would have an impact on page load time, it would have an impact on conversion, etc. But by kind of bringing all of those voices into one room, we can have that real active debate. And there is no winner and loser in this, right? The winner should be the customer at the end of the day, whatever is right for that customer.
And I want to take you back to where you started it next, in terms of point of sale. It feels like in-store could be an arena in which you have to get the customer experience right, but it's so ripe as it starts to become more digital. It's going to be so ripe to do delivery of ads, and we're seeing stuff getting smarter and smarter. Are you excited about in-store becoming digital? Give us a sense of rollout and that kind of thing.
I was really lucky that about 6 months ago I got the opportunity to take on our kind of digital in-store proposition as well. And what we've been able to do over the past few years is phenomenal. We've got an amazing guy called Felice in our team who really has championed this channel for years and years, and managed to put 800 screens into our store. I've no idea how he did it. What we're doing this year is we're going to be rolling out a further 1,600 screens, but the really interesting thing for me is that will be underpinned by a single CMS, which will connect all of our digital touch points in store together, so that actually we can make sure from a customer perspective that we're really making sure that we've got the right message at the right time. For us, it is not around plastering the store with kind of broad brush marketing messages. It's around what am I thinking as a customer in this point of time, and how can I start to influence behavior in that point. So I think that is really, really exciting for me. And then you've got to think about where does that go. Programmatic is something I love. So actually, I think you will start to see more of the store environment becoming programmatic, and being able to also buy on things like triggers, like weather, today, pollen, etc., and really kind of start to move the dial in terms of that customer relevancy of messages, versus POS, which absolutely has its part to play, but it is static. Let's be honest, it can't be quite as dynamic and creative.
Yeah, ice cream brand managers rejoice, I think, at the moment. I mean, it is fill your boots time. And is it that sort of North Star of everything starts to join together? So whether you're in the app or you pick up the device to scan and you're in the drinks aisle, you have this kind of seamless customer journey. They've got Nectar Card plugged in. I mean, it's this sort of utopia, isn't it?
It is a utopia. It has to be seamless, not creepy. And I think that's the thing that we need to really remember in this.
Marketing people think it sounds really good.
Yeah, and then
someone's going to hold you back. And that's the tension bit, I guess, is there's got to always be someone going, I'm not sure that's going to work. Let's test it in 20 stores or something like that.
And that's the really important thing, right? You have to have a test and learn approach to things. You have to work out what works, what doesn't work. You have to have those people around you in the business that go, you're probably crossing the line now and getting a little bit too creepy down this data piece. And also, let's be honest, like who I was 5 years ago is not who I am today. Consumers change, buying habits change, lifestyle changes, etc. And if we start to become too regimented and too obsessive, then actually we're going to miss out some amazing customers.
I was talking to the legend that is Simon Andrews of Fix fame yesterday. He was calling retail media the third revolution in digital advertising, obviously after desktop and mobile. He also went on to say it's really fucking hard. What's so hard about it? Because it feels like it's delivering everything we want, and advertisers want huge amounts of data, consumer at the heart. It's got real life, it's got digital. I mean, it should feel like this sort of incredible opportunity. Why is it so hard?
I think, as I said at the beginning, I still don't think we have the true seat at the table that we need across everything, and I think that's what makes it feel hard. Hark back to the year of mobile that was never a year and it was years and years. That kind of feels what it's been like for retail media. We just need that kind of step change that really takes us through into how do we get that recognition that we actually, retail media is a little bit reinventing marketing, because we're telling you to break down all your silos, we're telling you to break down all your budgets, and actually for me the brands and the agencies that really lean into that are going to be the ones that are going to succeed. But I would say that.
But I think it's a really good. And who should be doing that? Is that on the retailers to do it? Is it trade bodies like us? Are agencies going to play a kind of a new role here and bring in shopper teams, media teams together? Is it a bit of all of us? I mean,
I think it has to be all of us, right? There's always that thing that if you have a great idea, if someone else says it, then they'll believe it type thing. And I think that is it. As retailers, we've been kind of preaching at this church for quite a long time. We need other people to come on the journey. I think IAB, and if you've not read Futurescape, put aside a few hours, get delved into it. It's an amazing kind of piece of work there. But I think that's really helped. I think we've seen agencies start to spin up teams and actually start to bring business units from across the business into those teams and think more holistically. And absolutely, we've got some amazing brand partners that really kind of lean into having retail media as the pin that sits between all of their other teams. So I think we're on the journey. I think it's everyone's responsibility. Hopefully it will be a bit quicker.
I have two questions left for you. First one, what's the most misunderstood or kind of underhyped bit of retail media at the moment? What are you surprised people aren't doing more of that's kind of there?
I'm surprised people aren't doing more of off-site activity. I think, we talk a lot about off-site, and definitely it is a growing area of the business. I'm just surprised that brands don't lean into it more, particularly when we start to think about that wastage piece, particularly when we start to think about actually the amazing returns that we can give in terms of a closed loop. So shout out to my off-site team, who I know are in the audience, and if anyone wants to talk to us about it, we can.
With the thing. And for the sort of the uninitiated, that's effectively infusing nectar data to go and buy them all over the internet. They might not be on your sites and apps and things like that. Very last question. What else is on Alice Anson's retail media wish list for this year, maybe next?
Oh, God.
Say it and it will come true.
Say it and it will come true. I think for me, launching Pollen is the big thing, right? It's been like birthing an elephant over the last 12 months. I'm so glad it's finally out in the open and I can start talking about it. We've now just got to make it happen. So I think it'd be really interesting to see that. I also really do hope that this is the year where actually we nail measurement. I know that we've got gold standard coming in from the IAB, which I think will really help us get there. So yeah, seeing more retailers become certified is also what my wish list is.
Awesome, thank you. If you want to know more about Futurescape, iabuk.com/Futurescape. But with that, please give a big hand. Alice Anson.